back and watch tonight's proceedings after tonight, you just go to the diamondvalleychamber.ca website. The drop-down menu, go to the events page, and under events, there is a YouTube screen there, and you can watch it over and over again. There's business cards up the front if you want a reminder of our website address. If anybody has any questions, you can always email us at the chamber. And so I'm going to introduce the candidates, except Jamie looks like he's coming.
I am, yeah.
Here comes Jamie. Okay, so Jamie Wilkie's our moderator. Several people know him. I want to thank the rest of my teammates at the Chamber of Commerce, specifically Brian Lindsay and Chelsea Noble. Jackie Stickle was huge in spearheading this. Jamie has worked his butt off. He's got two really great people here who are very much interested in giving everybody as much information as possible. Jamie's going to come down. He can introduce the candidates. We have lots of time for people to ask questions. And everybody here, this is Jamie Wilkie, our moderator.
I like just-in-time delivery, so thank you. So I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. This is obviously a great turnout, better than we expected, I think. So I appreciate that. Yes, yeah. So what I'm going to do here to kick things off, first of all, I just wanted to do a quick land acknowledgement. That's a big part of what it is that I do. So I just wanted to say that we acknowledge Treaty 7 territory, the traditional ancestral territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Kainai, Piikani, Siksika, as well as the Tsuut'ina Nation and the Stoney Nakoda First Nation. Sorry, I was working out the live stream back there, got me a little winded. We acknowledge that this territory is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. We acknowledge many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have lived and cared for these lands for generations. We're grateful for the knowledge that they pass on to us, and we make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on or are visiting. So thank you for that. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Pam, who is grateful enough to let us use her drama room, and the exchange was that you guys get to hear all about the play that they're going to be putting on here. So Pam, come on up, and we'll let her say a few words, and then we'll get into things.
Yeah, it was totally shameless. I'm so sorry. When they asked, I said, is it okay if I come up and say a few words? I will make this really brief because I know you guys will certainly need, and I understand and respect your time. I'm Pam Perchich. I am the senior high drama teacher here, and I was on mat leave for a year, and then there was COVID and stuff, so some of you may recognize me, some of you may not. Our upcoming play is December 16th and 17th. It's called Long-Term Care. It is a play that I personally wrote. It was sort of a dedication to my grandmother and her experiences traveling, as well as some of my own experiences traveling. The show goes up at 7 p.m. The doors open 30 minutes prior. There's also a 2 p.m. matinee on Saturday. In conjunction with that, the winter market, I was asked to just quickly mention the winter market here on December 16th, which is the day prior. They're going to be having from 4 to 7:30. It will be in the gymnasium, and it'll be a wonderful opportunity to buy some Christmas gifts and help out. We are still looking for donations for the silent auction. So there's my little plug. I'd really appreciate you guys coming out. Tickets will be on sale at the front office prior to the show starting on the 18th. So if you'd love to buy tickets, we do sell tickets at the door, but if you do want to guarantee yourself a spot, I highly recommend you buy them ahead of time. If you have any questions, just let me know. The tagline is, who said assisted living with your worst enemy can't be fun? So that is December 16th and 17th, 7 p.m., and then a 2 p.m. matinee on the Saturday. Awesome. And there's also a display at the back. Oh, that is being covered by a jacket. Never mind. And there's also a whiteboard with information on it as you leave, in case you don't remember anything I just said. Or you can go on YouTube and watch this over and over and over again.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Pam, and thank you to all the staff here. thanks everyone. So I'd like to get into things, but I want to start out by saying, first of all, thank you to all of you. I mean, being engaged in elections and being engaged in municipal politics can be challenging. It can be hard to follow at times, but in reality, there are few elections that have a bigger impact on your day-to-day life. The way, I can't remember who it was, but it sounds like something Barry might have said. And the first things that you do in the morning are something, shower, and shave. And pretty much all three of those have a lot to do with municipal services that are provided to us, right? So municipal services are what keeps our communities running. I have a young family. Having access to recreational facilities is critical to me. Having reliable water, sewer, all of those sorts of things are all very, very important. So thank you for coming out today. Thank you to all the candidates. I sat up here at one point in time, and I know it's not all that fun, but it's great to see all of you up here. Also, finally, just one final thank you to the school. So my name's Jamie. If anybody doesn't know me, I'm a former councilor at the town of Turner Valley. I was unable to give it the time that the job deserved this go around, so I didn't run. Haven't for the last couple. I'm hoping to someday, but my job keeps adding more and more jobs for me to do, so that's getting tougher and tougher to do as well. My goal is to have all of you hear from the candidates tonight, not from me. So I want you to ask some questions. We will have the opportunity to ask questions during today. But first of all, I'm going to get all of the candidates to introduce themselves. So what the format for tonight's event is going to be, all of the candidates will get 3 minutes to introduce themselves. That's going to be in a random order, randomly assigned by me. They will then be asked questions. We had some questions submitted. Anybody who wants to personally ask a question, and I highly encourage that, we'll prioritize any questions from the room. I'm going to, while the candidates are introducing themselves, get a microphone set up in the back of the room so that we can do just that. So you'll be able to line up there to ask any questions that you might have. General rules for tonight's event, personal attacks, not allowed. Personal attacks on the character or standing of any of the parties involved, not going to be tolerated. This isn't a back and forth, it's not a debate. I don't want people yelling up here about Team Red, Team Blue, anything like that. I want the candidates to get their message out to you, and that's the important thing here. Interruptions to that end are going to be strongly discouraged. We've got some big bouncerish looking people that can probably take care of it if we need to. But we want this to be ask your question, you hear from the candidates, and that's what we're having today. Misinformation is something that I don't really abide by. Anybody who knows about me online knows that I don't really stand for that, so I won't stand for it here as well. For the audience, I'm just going to ask you a couple of things, which is, number one, if you could just hold off on your applause or cheering or shouting until the very end. I would appreciate that. It's just going to make things run more smoothly. It'll get more questions in from you, the audience, and that's what's important here. There will be time at the end to let everybody know who you think won and which team you're on, and we'll make sure that you have a chance to do that. Please just try to keep the noise to a minimum if possible. There's a lot of people in here. This is incredible. We just want to keep the conversation as focused as possible. Respect is the name of the game here. It takes a lot of courage to stand on this stage, and I think we owe people that for deciding to do it. Candidate rules, so time frames. I've got a stopwatch up in the sound booth. I'm going to go grab it. That will keep you all on track. I will try to give you a yip or something to let you know that you're coming up close to the end of your time. I will try not to cut anybody off, but try to wrap it up as soon as I let you know that. You were told about sort of the time frames that you'd have to deal with. Introductions and responses, I want you to direct them to me, if you want to yell at somebody, or to the audience if you want to do it that way. Not to each other, it would be the preference here. All introductions, oh, sorry, I covered that one already. So, asking questions. We're going to get folks to queue up at the back. I'll mention that when I come back up here for the next discussion. You'll have a total of 30 seconds to ask your question. So I'm asking you to please stay focused. Think about that question first and try to get it out as clearly and succinctly as possible without the story, preferably. I want to hear all of your stories at some time, just some other time would be great for that. Please state your name when you ask the question, we're going to ask that you ask questions that are directed to all of the candidates, right? We want to hear from everybody. We're going to try to balance everyone's opportunity to speak here tonight. So that's our goal here. Just a final thing, I ultimately have the right of refusal on questions if I think they're out of line, or if I think they're not specific enough, they're difficult to answer. I may restate them. Bear with me. It's nothing against the question that you asked. I'm just trying to make it as productive as we can. That's all. So I will let you know when we've got a microphone ready to queue up for questions there. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to each of the candidates, and each candidate will get 3 minutes to introduce themselves. First up, Veronica Kloiber. There she is. So this is Veronica Kloiber. Veronica, you've got 3 minutes. And a microphone. You can put it in there.
All right. So I am Veronica Kloiber. I am currently on Black Diamond Council. Have been since 2017. I thought after 5 years on council I would be better at public speaking, but I am not. So I'm just going to read you what I wrote, because I'm a better writer than a speaker. So the last time I stood up here was 5 years ago, and it certainly doesn't feel like that much time has passed, but I guess it's true. When I first ran for Black Diamond Council in 2017, amalgamation was the talk of the towns as well. The feasibility report had just been published earlier that year, and from my outsider's perspective, it held no conclusive path forward. When I stood here as a first-time candidate, I truly didn't suspect I would be part of the final decision on whether to amalgamate. I'm happy to say we, the two councils, came to a decision. I voted yes on amalgamation. After months of discussion, negotiation, and after talking to many residents, I made a decision and voted yes. When I first ran, the path forward was not clear. We chose, and now our path is clearer, but still not set. It is up to you, the residents, to decide how you would like the culture and character of our new municipality to take shape, and that starts with who you choose to sit on its first council. When I first ran, I said I would try for 2 terms on council, so here I am, staying true to my word. 2 terms is 8 years, and I would be thrilled to complete the promise I made in 2017 to be elected or re-elected, I'm not sure what the right term for it is in this case, to the first Diamond Valley Council. Why am I running again? I want to take the knowledge and experience of the past 5 years and help set up our new town for success. I'm not saying, I'm going to skip that part, we shouldn't say that. Infrastructure improvements and communication have always been my election mandates, and this go-around is no different. I would like to see some more paving projects completed and in the coming years, and I will always continue to be available to talk to residents about town matters or just to visit. So if you'd like to know more about me than we can fit in 3 minutes, I have a website and I have placed some business cards over there. So please feel free to take a look at that in your spare time. And I would, of course, like to extend the best of luck to all my fellow candidates. See you after the 28th. How did I do on time, Jamie?
You're good. Next up is Jonathan Gordon, please.
Right on. Thanks so much, Jamie, for moderating tonight. I know that's always a challenge. Also, big thanks to the Chamber for hosting this. That's awesome for you guys to do that. And of course, fellow candidates, thank you so much for stepping forward at such an important time in our history. As well, school administration, thanks for allowing us the use of our room here. I don't know about you, but isn't it kind of ironic that we're having a municipal politics discussion in a drama room? Just saying. But thank you as well. Most importantly, thank you so much to each of you for being here tonight. Really, your participation and your involvement in this event, kudos, much appreciated. You know, my family and I moved here just over 8 years ago. We moved here to support my mom and dad. Yeah, I'm that guy. I have my parents living in my basement. But it's all good. It's a 9-foot ceiling for them, beautiful walkout. But it allows them to age in place. And that's something that I really endeavor to support in our community. We chose this community because of the quality of life, natural beauty, awesome outdoor recreation, our small town charm, which I hope we can maintain, the safety, the medical facilities. We have a wonderful community. I've been serving as a councillor in Turner Valley since 2017, and in 2018, we set 4 priorities. We wanted good governance. We wanted efficient delivery with financial accountability. We wanted community development with growth management. And we also wanted to build on being a destination community. Well, how did we do? Well, We completed a multi-million-dollar water and sewage infrastructure replacement on Sunset Boulevard, $3.8 million, and we did not add one dime to our debt. We held taxes for the first 4 years. During COVID, we even lowered the tax rate for our businesses. Then in 2021, our property values rose, and we used the modest tax increase to fund our RCMP costs. We added curbside pickup for recycling and organics. We found efficiencies to meet and even increase our service demands. During this time, we started an economic development committee. This advisory committee is working to create an open for business culture in our community. As well, we have a new park with a river access. This project has been community-led, and many thanks are owed to our volunteers. During this time, we supported many youth projects through our Community Support Fund, including the Sustainability Project here at Oilfields. These objectives of financial accountability, economic development, and investment for our youth continue. I'm a strategist. I focus on short, mid, and long-term goals. A short-term goal in 2017 was amalgamation. I'm excited about the opportunity that's before us. We get to build tomorrow today, and we get to do that together. I'm looking forward to the public engagement that we will need, not just tonight, but I trust every person here tonight will get involved, because what we need to do is we must create bylaws that enable. We must write policies that maximize our resources and streamline our processes. We must set strategic priorities that focus on a unified investment attraction and optimize service delivery. We must create plans for our water. We must create plans for our recreation. And we must create plans for our transportation. We need to ensure that the small town charm we enjoy today is sustainable so that our taxes are where they need to be. I'm ready to bring measured advice as we build tomorrow today. I'll work with council and administration and strive for excellence so that we realize the benefits of uniting our community. Please consider giving me the opportunity to be your voice on the new Diamond Valley Council. Vote Jonathan Gordon. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. We got another microphone, so I'm at the back now. I'm just going to wander around aimlessly all night. Next up, we're going to have Curtis Dixon. Curtis, you're up next.
Thank you, Jamie. And while I'm getting organized here, can I get a big round of applause for Jamie and the Chamber of Commerce for putting this on for us tonight? Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
What did I tell you all about clapping?
All right, here we go.
It's for you.
Chamber clapping is loud.
Good evening, fellow citizens, friends, and candidates. Well, it's been a little over a year since I did one of these forums, and let me tell you, the technology has sure advanced. It's so realistic, it's like we're all in the same room. You can almost smell the anticipation of this evening's events in the air. My name is Curtis Dixon, and I'm here today to ask you to consider me for Town Councilor. I'd like to start by thanking all the members of the current Town Councils, administrations, and staff, as I am humbled by all the hard work and dedication to the community you have shown in the past year. You have laid the groundwork for history to be made. I have no doubt there will be books written one day about what has been achieved here. Maybe even a movie. Can you imagine? I think Bill Murray or Darth Vader could play my character very well. I'd also like to thank my family, my partner Kim and my daughter Abby, and all of my relatives near and far. Thank you for supporting me and always being there for me when I needed someone to say, Dad, do we really have to talk politics at the dinner table again? Or, you know, every pastor should have a donkey, and if anyone can be an ass, it's you. Let me just say your kind words and unwavering support and patience have not gone unnoticed. I've been a resident and small business owner locally since 2015, and I strive to support local organizations and add value through volunteerism and leadership. I started the Pie and Pints Adult Slopage League in 2016 and have coordinated it since. In 2017 and 2018, I was honored to serve as president of the Diamond Valley Chamber of Commerce, and this past spring I coordinated our first annual community-wide garage sale event. In 2021, I was elected councillor of Turner Valley, and as chairman of the Municipal Planning Commission, I have worked with local developers to evaluate various housing projects and upgrades in the community. I hope to continue as chairman of this committee, and I will continue to encourage public engagement when considering any future developments. As council representative, I worked with the Parks and Pathways Committee to bring us a new off-leash dog park, and as council representative on the FCSS Committee, where we supported many of our local community organizations. Having grown up in a household with limited resources, the FCSS committee is close to my heart, and I feel honored to be able to give back at this point in my life. I believe if we think outside the box and are creative in our approach, we can control the financial pressures passed on to our residents. When considering budgets, taxes, and delivery of services, I will maintain a balance and work to keep spending and taxation as low as possible. And I will strive to lessen the cost of public services and find efficiencies wherever I can. I believe my past experience with amalgamations, combined with nearly 25 years of upper management experience, can be a great asset to the new council. Growth and sustainability driven by public engagement will be top priority for me, as I believe working together as a team will be critical as we make history and move forward. I am not here to change the views of the people. I only wish to represent the people and be a part of a government that represents the views of its citizens. I am Curtis Dixon, Councilor for Diamond Valley Town Councilors. Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis. Next up, we're going to ask Hazel Martin. And following Hazel, just so we get a bit of a lineup going here, we're going to do Heather Thomson.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow candidates. It's so good to see so many of you folks out here today. I'm excited to be running for council for the first ever town in Diamond Valley. My name is Hazel Martin. I was raised in the Diamond Valley area. After graduating from Oilfields High School, I went to work in the oil and gas industry, and this is where I met my husband, Gene. And Turner Valley became our home, and is where we raised our 3 children, and we now have 2 darling grandchildren who live close by. My husband and I were very fortunate to have been able to work within our community. Volunteering has always been important to me. I have been involved with many boards and committees in both Black Diamond and Turner Valley over the years. I currently sit on the Sheep Creek Arts Council executive board in the role of treasurer. I was employed with the town of Turner Valley for over 25 years. I started operating water meters, then progressed to a role organizing the community events of Diamond Valley Days and the annual New Year's Eve party. For 2 years before I retired, in August of 2021, I provided administration support for all the departments within the organization. My tenure with the town is where I learned so much about municipal government. I'm finishing up on my first term on Turner Valley Council. I enjoyed my term on council, serving in many different capacities, including water, library, parks, health and safety, and other intermunicipal committees. Our new community of Diamond Valley will be seeing many new opportunities that have never been seen before. Investors looking at our community more favorably as a larger community of over 5,000 people. One council opening up the conversations with neighboring municipalities and community stakeholders to find ways to deliver services more efficiently and affordable to all our residents. West Winds Communities, our local housing management body, has made an application to the province to transfer a parcel of vacant land adjacent to the Glenmead Park 3 in Black Diamond to develop the site for future housing needs. This parcel of land has the potential to check off all of the boxes for affordable housing, near market rental housing for those who need a hand up to get into the housing market, and stay in your community housing model. Ideal for seniors looking to downsize, not wanting to leave their community or their friends or family, or looking to reinvest. I would be truly honored to continue to serving our great communities as they come together as one strong community. Diamond Valley, January 1st, 2023.
Thank you, Hazel.
Thank you, Jamie.
Perfect. Everybody's running right on time after I got my stopwatch out. We'll try to keep that going. Heather Thomson, you're up next.
Good evening, everyone. I see some familiar faces out there and some that I don't know. I am Heather Thomson. Of course, I am a current member of the Black Diamond Council. I have lived out here for 45 years, in Black Diamond for 26, but out on a ranch outside of town, and I have lived in Turner Valley as well. So I always have considered myself a member of the region, not specific to one town or the other. I raised my 3 beautiful children here. They all graduated from Oilfields High School, and I have 6 grandchildren that are not quite all of them in school yet, but they are going to school over here as well. Over the years, I have volunteered on several committees. One of the committees was I was a board member on the Regional Recreation Board, which in fact built us the Oilfields Arena. That was a big job, raising money for that, and we all worked very well together, and we got that done. I've sat on the curling club and the hockey associations, of course, with my kids. I worked for the town of Turner Valley for 10 plus years as a manager of legislative services, and several times I was the acting CAO. During my last term of acting CAO, I actually was working straight with amalgamation and saw a lot of what that process was going to be like for councils going forward. I have priorities, I don't have promises. I don't think that we can make those kind of promises, or I've learned that we can't. There's a lot of work to be completed by this new council of the Diamond Valley to ensure that we move forward in a fiscally responsible and sustainable fashion. Some of the work will include applying for grants. There's grants available to us once we become Diamond Valley to help us through the process. Doing some strategic planning, service level reviews, unify staff and integrate the different departments. That's going to be a big job, bringing everyone together in a unified, complete unit. What Charlene would say is change management and the work that needs to go into that. We need to continue to be accountable and transparent with our communications. We're going to have to look at a budget for the new town. We're going to have to integrate several staff plans, such as the municipal development plan, land use bylaws, and we have to go forward with the intermunicipal collaboration framework, which has been put off several years because of amalgamation, and that will be done with the county. Asset management is important to me to ensure that we have sustainable long-term growth, responsible economic development, and diverse housing to remain competitive. I think that's very, very important. I support youth, adult, senior programs and services, arts, culture, and our nonprofit groups. I always have, and I will continue doing that. I'm very excited to see the town of Diamond Valley come into fruition, and I'll work hard to do that. We do have a lot of work, and I have to give kudos to the administrative staff working with both councils. They've worked hard the past year, and it's not over. We have a lot more work to do. My hope is my years of public and political experience will help with this change to the town of Diamond Valley in a responsible and thoughtful way. And it would be an honor to represent the residents of both the communities as a member of the town of Turner Valley, or Diamond Valley, building a resilient, inclusive, new community. Thank you, everyone, and thanks for coming.
Heather, you got a little away from me there. I'm going to ask any other candidates, just keep an eye, check over here every once in a while. I'll hold my hand up if you're getting close enough. That's all that. You're only over about 7 minutes. It's okay. So next up was supposed to be Michaela Berge. Michaela unfortunately sent her regrets. She is under the weather today, and just with a large room, she did not want to be spreading that around to everybody. So she sends her regrets, and she has lots of literature out there, and we'll make sure that she can get her voice out as well. So next up, we're going to go with Dale Harrison, and that will be followed by Randall Williamson.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out and participating in this. My wife and I, we've been residents of Black Diamond for 8 years, and we've chosen to raise our families in smaller communities because of the quality of life. That is important. I've lived and worked in communities of various sizes from a few hundred to 50,000. I was self-employed and literally worked with thousands of businesses, from mom and pop shop operations to multinational corporations. I traveled across Western Canada for 10 years promoting tourism and working with approximately 100 communities and 4 provincial governments, which is what got me interested in municipal government. As a lifelong learner, in my late 40s, I completed a master's in business with a focus on rural economic development. I also have a local government administration diploma and a certificate in economic development. I've observed and participated in local government across the spectrum of sizes with all the wants that, there's more wants out there than there is the budget. And it doesn't matter how big the community, they all have the same issues. Councils must honor the past, serve in the present, and plan for the future. They do that through policies, procedures, and planning. The biggest policy decision that council makes is the annual budget. And then we have the statutory plans that are required by the provincial government, which is the planning. Where are we going to go? Where are we going to get to in 10 years? Local government deals with limited and dwindling resources, cutbacks in grants, and downloading from the federal and provincial governments. We face the same inflationary pressures that you do. Cost of staffing, utilities, fuel, and we also have a limited source of income. Taxes, utilities, and so there's only one taxpayer, and we can't dip into the pockets for everything that happens. We need to be aware of that. I treat finances as if it's my money, and I'm very conscious when I'm dealing with budgets. We need to be more creative in generating revenue outside of these sources, as well as controlling expenses. A 2018 report on utility and taxes of 25 medium-sized communities in southern Alberta showed that Black Diamond and Turner Valley had the highest level of utilities and taxes. The 2021 financial report on amalgamation combined states that we're looking at a $1.6 million deficit. That's 12.8%. that this council, the new council, is going to have to deal with. There's no quick answer and quick fix to these. The first few years of this new council will set the foundations of where Diamond Valley will go. And it's very important. There's a lot of financial data to go through, and we have to determine what level of service that the community can afford. There's no simple solutions for complex problems. Vote for experience.
Thank you, Dale. I was just coming with a look, so no, appreciate that. Next up, Randall Williamson, followed by Barry Williamson.
Good evening, Black Diamond and Turner Valley residents. My name is Randy Williamson. I'm running for mayor of Diamond Valley. I need your votes. It's that simple. As a resident of 21 years, like many of you, I've heard many election promises. I've watched mayors and councillors come and go. Some of them left early, others wouldn't leave at all. I'm running for mayor of Diamond Valley because my only agenda is you. It's time for accountability. Amalgamation is a big deal. I understand what it takes to get things done, and I'm highly motivated. Our new residents and young families, we are a community that offers hope, family values, a safe haven to raise your children. It's a town where long friendships are made. In the past, there's been no performance reviews of mayors and councillors. Accountability will give our taxpayers an opportunity to see how their tax dollars are being spent. I will always be an active mayor, and your concerns will become my concerns. Your voices will become my voices in council, if you cannot be there. I will always stand up and make sure your needs, opinions, and presence are at every council. Let's be clear. Amalgamation will be a challenge, and I'm certainly up to the task. Our residents need to know that I will stand up. I will never lose sight of what's important to each one of you. I will not abandon you or ignore your calls. I will listen and act on your concerns and make sure your voices are heard in council. This is our town, and many of our long-term residents, our seniors, are the reasons we are here today. You supported these towns with your family values and your endless tax dollars. Every tax dollar we can cut is a tax dollar that stays in your pocket and supports your family. Diamond Valley is not a series of buildings. It's a lifestyle and a protected environment where children are safe and friendships are made. It's time. A new mayor with a new system of getting things done. Vote Randy Williamson for mayor, and let's face the new chapter together. Amalgamation is here, and this is a big job, and it will take professional business people to handle amalgamation. Vote for Randy Williamson for mayor. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Randy. You win points for finishing on time, so thank you for that. I appreciate it. Next up is Barry Williamson, please.
Well, good evening. My name is Barry Williamson. Thanks for coming out, and also thanks to all the other candidates who have stepped up for a pretty important job in a pretty important town. My family too has lived here a long time, 25 years. We enjoy the community. We've watched it grow, and it's grown significantly over the years. We cycle on the pathway system. I certainly do at any rate. And we walk together on that pathway system. And in the beginning, my wife and I rode our horses on the river corridor from these two systems. We don't do it anymore. The flood took care of that. I've served on council in Turner Valley for 10 years. During which time I participated on many boards and committees, like others up here. A few of those would be the Western Regional Sewer Commission, which is really our sewage system, if you don't know that name. The Sheep River Utility Corporation, which is really our water system. I've been on the Turner Valley Gas Plant Resolution Panel, which had a lot of work in front of it, because there was a lot of worry about that gas plant contaminating the river. I'm happy to say that's not the case anymore, as far as I know. And, I was on the Sheep River Library and many, many more. We saw the new library built during the time that I was on council. I was also involved in the approval process of the Turner Valley Water Reservoir, which is feeding both towns. Thank God we had that built, because it saved us after the flooding. I served as the Chief Administrative Officer for the town of Turner Valley for 4 years, and then I retired. I thought I was going to keep it that way, because I'm very much interested in this new chapter. I worked on flood recovery projects and the grants that we needed to achieve those for Turner Valley and Black Diamond. They were significant capital projects with significant dollars, and I'm happy to say most of that got done by grants, federal and provincial. Most recently, I got called back to help. I was retired, but I got called back to help on the COVID emergency team, and I was happy to do that. I too am a lifelong learner. Some others have said that. I believe in the education side of whatever I'm doing. I took the municipal officials education program and completed that certificate. There was only a couple of councilors that did that. I was amazed at the thousands of councilors in this province. And the list of graduates is less than 100. Moving forward with amalgamation, which has been talked about for many years, as others have said, I was involved in that process as well. And living in this community, I want to be involved in helping the amalgamation get implemented. I want to thank previous councils and administrations. We often forget to do that, but a lot of them put in a lot of sweat and equity to get us to where we are. This time it's important to think of the history, the character of the towns, and recognize and celebrate, at the same time working together and using those other municipalities that we're coming from to help the long-term benefit. Good luck to everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to voice my thoughts this evening, but obviously I'd love to have your vote of confidence in the upcoming election, But whatever the outcome, please be sure to get out and vote.
Thank you, Barry. Appreciate it. Up next, Cindy Holladay. Following Cindy will be Brendan Kelly. Just a quick word for those that are on the stage. I know it can be warm sitting out there. If you find yourselves thirsty, Ryan at the back has said if you just make some sort of lewd hand gesture towards him, he will bring you any water that you need. So please do that. If you're getting thirsty, just let us know.
Thanks, Jamie. And thank you, Diamond Valley Chamber, for organizing tonight. I appreciate how much of a difference you guys make in our community. I'm Cindy Holladay. I'm just finishing my 5th year on Turner Valley Council. And although I'd say last year's forum, Jamie, was a lot less nerve-wracking. We got to sit in our pajama bottoms in our basements and talk to them. I do love Oilfields High School. Usually when I'm here, I'm wearing a Drillers basketball hoodie, so this seems a little bit strange and formal to me. But it was actually at a kids basketball tournament in 2017 when Barry Crane first gave me the idea to run for council. It turned out to be a great suggestion, and 5 years later, I'm grateful to be part of this historical moment in our community. We moved to Turner Valley about 10 years ago when my husband started as an administrator at Turner Valley School, and we instantly fell in love with the area, and I can't think of any other place I'd rather raise my 4 kids. I've always campaigned on 3 priorities: cost efficiency, collaboration, and communication. Those are my core beliefs that keep me grounded, and I think over the last 4 years, our council has delivered on each one of them. We're entering a very special and a unique term where the new council will get to lay the foundation for Diamond Valley. I know how much hard work is ahead, and I understand the complex nature of the decisions that we will have to make. I believe right now we need stability and solid leadership within the new town organization. We need a strategic council, one that understands municipal finance and how the council process works. That way, the full benefits of amalgamation can be achieved. I have a Bachelor of Commerce degree from the U of A, and I feel my background as an accountant has been a huge help the past 5 years as we have stabilized spending in Turner Valley and made our budget process better. I've spent many hours reviewing the financial information for both Turner Valley and Black Diamond and lots of other communities that are similar sized. And I really want to be part of the new council working on the combined budget and ensuring we are careful stewards of the tax money that residents are entrusting us with. I believe our most important priorities are the essential services: water, sewer, roads, fire, and bylaw enforcement. I think there are many things we can do better as an amalgamated town, especially with our utilities, and making certain that they are properly maintained and funded in the long term. I hope I've proven myself over the last 5 years as a dedicated, hard-working team player. I'm ready to hit the ground running in January and fully committed to serving all the residents of Diamond Valley. So thank you for taking the time to get involved, to be here tonight, and I look forward to meeting more of you afterwards.
Thank you, Cindy. Next up is Mayor Brendan Kelly.
Good evening, everybody. Big thank you to everybody involved for putting this together. So, some feedback that I got after the election last year is that nobody really knew anything about me. I've been in the community for just over 10 years, so I'm going to give you a little history about myself before I jump into the platform. So politics for me started at a very young age. My grandfather, Judge John R. Kelly, out of New Brunswick, was a Supreme Court judge. And so growing up, I was fascinated by law and politics. As I approached university, I began working with relatives who are MLAs and MPs, helping organize campaigns, rallies, and door-to-door meets, many of which are still involved in politics out east. I began majoring in political science and English when I started university, and after I double majored, I was accepted into the Bachelor of Education at the University of New Brunswick. I was elected by my peers to sit on the Board of Applications, helping balance criteria required for acceptance into the UNB education program, and I was also nominated as a social rep for our class of 250 plus students to organize fundraisers for our school and community. After graduating, my wife and I moved way up north, John Doerr Prairie, very close to high-level Alberta. There I sat as acting principal and vice principal whenever required, teaching grade 9 as my full-time gig. I was appointed to a panel of curriculum development. Many First Nations communities wanted a standard of education that crossed many different schools in the event their children moved from school to school. Weekends were spent traveling, and weekdays were spent working. Fast forward to the last 11 years of my life in Black Diamond, our home. Up until the pandemic, I was putting in north of 200 extracurricular hours at work a year, mostly coaching and driving our teams to and from venues and tournaments. Since I have lived in Black Diamond, I've been involved with the town in a number of ways. I was part of a great team that appealed the massive condo units in Riverwood a couple of years ago, winning that appeal. Standing up against the development that would have seen property values plummet in Riverwood and Willow Ridge was important to me. I'm still teaching full-time, but I have a great wife that understands that this town needed a big change last year. And I have her full support when it comes to balancing our home life and council work. Tonight she's volunteering at the food bank as we do this with our 2 kids. I've gone through an amalgamation before, where I grew up in Ottawa, so I have a little bit of experience, not from a professional point of view, but from a personal standpoint. So some of my key areas of focus, the biggest thing is fiscal responsibility. That's always top of mind. I'm a taxpayer too, and so when I make a decision, I always think, how is this going to affect our taxpayers? The 3 main areas of focus: continued, clear communication. This reduces misinformation and keeps people informed. Small businesses, the heart and soul of our community. I'd like to continue working with them through the downtown area redevelopment plan that I sit on. And mixed and sustainable growth, the last thing. We need more diverse housing so people can age in place, move from a renter to a buyer, and have services that support this kind of lifestyle. We need to focus on our current residents and their needs before opening up recently annexed lands for industrial parks and new residential developments. Sustainable growth is key, so we can keep the small town feel without ending up like Cochrane or Okotoks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brendan. Much obliged. Next up is going to be Barry Crane. I'm watching the clock like a hawk.
You may start your priority sequence on 3, 2, 1. Thank you for coming out tonight, and thank you to Diamond Valley Chamber, the School Division, for hosting and allowing us this space. Thank you also to the candidates for stepping up. It's no small task, as you all know, so thank you for putting that out there. What you see here tonight is the depth of education and experience that's represented through these councillors. Is very impressive. Each person here has a profession under their belt, and they offer that experience for this first council of Diamond Valley. The next council of Diamond Valley will no doubt be in a very, very experienced one. For those who don't know me, I'm Barry Crane, and I'm here tonight to ask for your support and elect me as mayor of Diamond Valley. I'm a dedicated, community-minded volunteer, husband, coach, and father. I believe that actions speak louder than words, and I like to get into the trenches just a little bit, maybe a little bit of snow shoveling from now and then, just to lead by example. It's imperative that we build on the partnerships and the relationships, not just within our communities, but with other communities, AMD, Okotoks, and so on. And I've done that over the last 9 years. Public engagement, listening to public concerns, bringing those concerns to council table are all part of the public engagement process and being on council. And I would, as I always have been, very open to any conversation, whether it be phone, in person. Find me on Facebook, it's not hard to do. I will listen to any concern you have. The last 9 years on council have been rewarding, exciting, and challenging around this council table. Amalgamation has been talked about, as you know, for 50 years. And it's my intention to bring my continuity of experience and leadership to that table for the next 3 years if elected. Clear and concise communication, financial stewardship, and transparency are exactly what my promises would be as mayor. It is my hope, as your mayor and spokesperson, to create an environment for open dialogue, for discussion, and a respectful environment for the debate, to be factual and not personal. Leaders who are honest with themselves know it is not about the I can, it is about the we can. We recognize that success comes from working together, with each person playing his or her role. The goal isn't ego-driven, but it's team-driven, and leaders see winning as a collaborative effort, and the goal isn't to make yourself look good, it's to make our community look good, to prosper as a community, to become more efficient as a community, and to maintain the excellent standard of living that we enjoy today. I believe I'm an excellent balance to represent both communities unbiasedly from my years of volunteer experience, from both sides of the river, as it were, and my team spirit attitude. I want to champion our community for all that we have to offer, from the amazing volunteers, to the world-class artists who call themselves Diamond Valley, to the parents who step up and coach our sports associations, to the doctors and teachers who provide for our children selflessly day after day. I want to champion our Diamond Valley and lead this council of experienced people and professionals for the betterment of all. Thank you. Please vote for Barry Baker.
Thanks, Barry. Thanks, Barry. There we go. Thanks, Barry. Last but not least, Shay Ford. Thank you for waiting so long. You are the last one up, and then we're going to get into questions. So before Ms. Ford starts her speak, if anybody does have any questions, I've got a nice clear space around me. I don't know if it's the smell or what it is. But I'm going to use this for asking questions. So if you would like to ask any questions of the council candidates and mayor candidates, if you could please come and stand up here, we will take questions from the audience after Ms. Ford is done. Over to you.
Excuse me. My name's Shay. Excuse me. I've been sitting there listening to everybody else and haven't had a chance to clear my throat. So I've been listening to what everybody else has to say, and really, that's a pretty tough act to follow. All right. So my background, I've lived in Turner Valley for the last 20 years. I've been on the executives of the Sheep Creek Weavers. I spent a lot of time there, a lot of time with the Sheep Creek Arts Council, Curtis and Millerville Fair. So I've done that kind of volunteering. It's my turn to get back to my community. I'm a rookie, so this isn't my first chance at governance. When I was at university, I was highly involved with the student government at the university level. Worked Suicide Watch because my background is a lot of service orientation. I spent 25 years in Africa working with international business development. I spent eight of those years as financial controller. So I have a very diverse background in that respect. But I would just back up a little bit. I'd like to welcome everybody. Welcome, and just say to you, we live in interesting times. All right. I may not be your first choice of candidate, but I certainly hope you will take what I have to say into consideration. In my family, I'm considered a bit of an S-stirrer. So I like, and that may be a bit of an understatement. I like to know what, why, and how. And I think that's the important part as taxpayers. We have all kinds of grand plans going on and what we want to do and where we want to go, but how are we going to get there and who's going to pay for it? And that to me is an important part of what we are as a community. I do not go along to get along. I believe in obligation. I believe in giving your word, and I believe in doing your very best to what you am. I'm committed to respect, responsibility, and integrity. Those are my catchwords. I believe in enhancing sustainable growth opportunities for our futures, but I want you to ask yourself, if we're looking for sustainability, why are we selling off our green spaces to developers? Why are we looking for opportunities elsewhere? Because is that really sustainable thinking? What's the long-term plan? I believe in ensuring ongoing inclusive communication within the community. Right? If we have water capacity estimated available for 10,000 people in Black Diamond, Turner Valley, and Millerville, and Foothills County, does that include hospitals? Does that include distillery? Does that include the 2 breweries? Does that include the new planned brewery? Oh, I've got 2 more minutes. I'm going to stop there.
30, 40.
All right. All right. So are there plans for a 3rd pond? And if so, who's going to pay for it? Right? Engaging with our community. I believe in engaging with community, being accessible to you. So why are taxpayers petitioning and being ignored? Because that's not right. Right? I believe in establishing good rapport and continuing respect for our community. And there is actually no other option than respect. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Shay. Thank you very much. So we did have a number of questions that were submitted by email as well. So I'm obviously going to take the questions that I have standing here. However, I'm probably going to drop in a question here and there from that. And we sort of put out a quick survey just to see what priorities were for folks. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over for the first question. The first person to speak on this question will be Jonathan Gordon. So Jonathan, if you could be at the podium, that would be fantastic. Thank you. We've got Matt Williams here with the first question.
After reading all of your profiles, I can only support one candidate at present. So I'm giving you the opportunity to earn my vote. The question I have is, heard a lot about growth during this presentation, and I'd like to know how much residential growth is on the table. There's a 300-acre development being proposed just across from Rona, and I'd like to know what your position is on it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Williams. I appreciate that question. You know, development is always a challenge. When, how, and where. Because, you know, where I live in Northwest Turner Valley, my daughter is right backing onto a beautiful open green space, and it'd be the worst thing for her, in my opinion, to have apartments behind her or some other facilities behind her. However, when we talk about development, before we can even plan to develop, my opinion on that is we need to pump the brakes. We need to first identify what is our water strategy moving forward. We're always on level 2 restrictions. We also then need to make sure that we're focusing on a proper land use and a municipal development plan that has to get in place first. We need to have all of these plans in place first, develop an effective growth strategy. You know, it's the balancing act, correct? We have taxes. The lowering of the taxes is often through more people living here. One area that I want to focus on is not so much residential growth, but really the commercial attraction that we need to have. Less than 10% of our revenue comes from commercial base, so we need to get after that commercial growth. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. And just for the audience, there's 60 seconds response for everybody. We just want to get through as many questions as we can. Next up is Barry Williamson, please. Following Barry will be Hazel Martin. Thank you. So the question was regarding growth. We're going to go through the same question to everybody. What's your approach to growth in the community?
Well, I think growth, like anything related to how you develop land, and you need land to grow, you need water to grow, you need sewer capacity to grow. We have to respect the statutory plans that are in place. And are those plans going to allow us to grow the way we think we should grow? But, you know, without giving too much of a technical response to that, you've got to make sure that you've done your municipal development plan, and I know those things are outdated. The intermunicipal development plans have to be updated. You got to make sure that they're driving and tailoring into the other statutory plans. Even though that may be, you know, too much of an answer for how you see growth, I don't think we can stop growth. If we stop growth, we're not going to be able to sustain ourselves as a healthy town.
Thanks, Barry. Next up, Hazel Martin, and then we will have Veronica Kloiber after that, please.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, I met with you on Saturday, and you told me you were going to ask me this question, so I hope I'm able to answer it for you. Just as both candidates said, we need to have our municipal development plan updated. We also need to align our land use bylaws. Growth, we need to continue with growth as our other candidates have said, for sustainability. The parcel of land that you're talking about, I think we have to make sure that we have enough water, that our infrastructure has the capacity to support this development before we can move forward with it. And I do hope personally that this developer listens to us and so that we can all hear the same message. Thank you.
Thanks, Hazel. Next up is Veronica Kloiber.
Okay, so as a resident and a candidate, more so than a current councillor, I don't agree with hopscotching development around our municipality and creating a patchwork. I think a succession of development without leaving massive tracts of land that take forever to get municipal infrastructure to is the correct way. Answer your question?
No.
No. I don't think it's a good idea to develop that parcel of land before developing closer proximities to town parcels of land.
That answers my question.
Thanks, Veronica. Good rephrase at the end. Next up is Brendan Kelly, followed by Barry Quinn.
Thanks for the question, Matt. Yeah, it's an important one, and one that really has just kind of started to percolate recently because we've started to see some interest in our community. So, our current, I think it's worth saying, is our current infrastructure, or the upgrades that we're doing, it can support growth, and that's why growth is being explored, okay? We do have some studies that need to be done, but that's not where I stand on this. I just wanted to clear that up. I think that our focus right now should be on our current infrastructure, our current unpaved roads, the things that our current residents already pay for and have been paying for. We have some money in the bank once we get through amalgamation. I just call them reserves. We have reserves once we get through amalgamation. I'd like to get some more roads paved. I'd like to upgrade some of our current infrastructure, make things more cost efficient for our residents. I don't think that we should be looking at big developments entering town until we get things looked after that are already here. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brendan. Up next is Barry.
My main reason for amalgamation was to ensure our growth into the future is done in a sustainable and well-designed method. Public engagement, holding developers accountable financially and both for land base and green space are one of those commitments that we need to follow through on. The ring road has opened up the doors, and that's one of the parts of amalgamation and why it's so important that we start thinking as one unit, one mind, and one body. If we do not, we get broken into a million little pieces and then we get chopped up. And that's just how it goes. So this way we have a clear line of vision to what we actually want to do. New developments are going to come. It is council's job to make sure that they're done to the standard that the citizens expect and can be delivered. And we can do that by making sure they're financially accountable and self-sustaining so they're not a burden on old tax-paying dollars. So that we can do exactly what Mayor Kelly said. Take care of the old part down while the new developments take care of themselves.
Thanks, Barry. Randy Williamson next.
Well, I'm kind of new to all of this, but at the end of the day, I'd be more concerned about what the developers are prepared to do. I want to make sure that there's things in place to protect the town. At all costs, the town comes first and the residents in the town. So any decision that I would be making in council in regards to this, I would definitely want to research all of it. I think the towns have enough infrastructure. I think there's a lot of things that have to be done in the towns for the residents. And I think we need to deal with all of that stuff first. But I certainly would look forward to dealing with any of the people that want to take any parts of the land and start developing it. I think it'd be good to sit down at a table and find out exactly what they got planned. And I think I'd make a difference. I'm a new cowboy, so I think everything's going to be new the first time around. I'm not rolling over for anybody. So I think it'll be interesting to sit down and see what they're talking about. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Randy. Up next, Shay Ford, and then we're going to have Dale Harrison calling that.
All right, basically as far as the growth in that area of Black Diamond, which Diamond Valley is concerned, they're looking at a balancing act, right? And it's a balancing between what services do you have, what growth is expected, how much is it going to cost, what's going to give you your best return, bottom line at the end of the day. What's not going to cost you any more than absolutely necessary for that growth expansion. I totally agree with Major Kelly. I believe that we should be looking at what do we need to do with our existing infrastructure to improve that, to make sure that you've got the best service available, before we start getting really carried away with building willy-nilly everywhere else. I would also like to see, I mean, we've talked about the one park that's being developed, but I would also like to see more green spaces within our residential environments as well. But as I say, it all depends on how we do our business. And that is going to be set by the next council. I would like to be a part of that next council. So if you have any further questions, I'm hopefully going to be able to get my hands on more information next week. And you can meet me at the Chuck Wagon from 1 until 3, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we can have a talk about it. Okay?
Thank you, Shay. Next up is Dale Harrison, and then Curtis Dixon. You will follow Dale.
My experience in communities is that developers think they're in control, and that's wrong. It is councils who determine the future of your community and how it grows. There is in place the requirements for off-site levies, so that new development is paying for infrastructure that needs to be expanded, because the existing infrastructure has been paid for by these residents. You don't have to pay for the next round of growth. That's the developer's responsibility. And it's up to council to make sure that they follow the way development should be done. It's not, it usually is done in a phased approach. And for infrastructure, the existing, we need to have an infrastructure management plan that looks at the age of all of your infrastructure, that sets out priorities and says, this block needs to be done next, because that's what's going to fail first. It's not just paving the road. You've got to fix the underground before you start to work on the roads. And it need to have a long-term plan.
This button is tough to switch on. Next up, Curtis Dixon, followed by Heather Thomson, and then last is Cindy Holladay.
Yeah, so when I think about growth, I look at my 10-year-old daughter, who just yesterday was 2 years old and about this high, and she's no longer that high. Growth it's inevitable. It's not something we can avoid. But what we can do is we can plan very carefully for it. We can make sure that we have everything in place that is needed in order to support that growth. Without that support, I can't even imagine where I would be here today looking at my beautiful daughter in front of me. So growth is a good thing for our community. It's inevitable. It's going to come, but we need to plan carefully and make sure that we know exactly what we're doing in order to move forward.
Thank you, Curtis. Heather, and then Cindy.
I agree with everyone. Growth is inevitable. But I'd like to see it done respectfully, respecting the residents that are currently in our town. I also agree with Mayor Kelly that I'd like to see some of the infrastructure taken care of now for the residents that are living here. The councils of both Black Diamond and Turner Valley have just completed off-site levy bylaws, new bylaws, which will be applied to, and that will help support growth, and it will be paid for by the developers for the most part. I want to stay a small town. I want that small town feeling. That is something that I really strongly believe in. But I don't think we can stop growth. So if we can do it well planned, with some diverse growth, I see lots of things for seniors. We're baby boomers. There's a lot of baby boomers coming into this world, and we need that diverse housing to support everyone. Single mothers, seniors. So that's how I feel about development in our towns.
Thank you. Cindy, last but not least.
It's really tough going last on this one, actually. You know, I think over the last 5 years, all of the Turner Valley Council can attest to the problems that we've had with developments that have gone wrong and all the headaches that can cause and how important it is to get done right. When we first moved here, we moved into Seclusion Valley in the middle of its bankruptcy, and all of the nightmares that was. And so development, I am very much a strong supporter of doing very carefully. And I think this is a great example of why amalgamation is so important, because those of us in Turner Valley will now get a say of what goes on east of Black Diamond, that we're all equals in this and can have a voice in it, because we all use the same water and all use the same sewer, and we need those, and we need to do those plans that everybody else has talked about. I would like to see, Black Diamond has been landlocked. They don't have, until the annexation happened, there has been very little lots. Turner Valley is a different situation. We do have a lot of pieces that have been waiting for development and it hasn't happened. So I would like to see a prioritization of what should get done first, based on what's most cost efficient in the long term for our communities. So have a plan before we take over Greenfield. Thanks.
Thanks, Cindy. Our next question comes from Greg Pyra. So, Greg, your question?
Hi, Greg Pyra. 1 in 4 adult Canadians, again, 1 in 4 adult Canadians are 65 and above. What do candidates plan to do about seniors' low-cost housing? Low-cost housing.
Thank you, Greg. Great question. First up, I'm going to go with Barry Crane on this round, followed by Curtis Dixon.
Not much time, right there. Okay. For seniors housing, Mr. Pyra, I sit on the West Winds Board, of course, which is responsible for senior housing in our area. We presently have a beautiful facility on Edgar, but that is not what we want. What we need is, we definitely need more diverse housing. And there's been some options laid on the table, but finances just are not there for a lot of these projects. So West Wind's prioritized. They asked all communities to participate. That's from High River, Okotoks, Black Diamond, Turner Valley, MD. Housing study was done for Black Diamond and Okotoks. Okotoks presently has 2 parcels in project that are going in the ground right now. Black Diamond is next on that priority list. And as you heard from one of our candidates earlier, Land Need 3 has an access of land that myself and Mayor Kelly sent letters to the government asking to be allocated to West Winds. So we hope that that bears some fruit. However, we need private enterprise and developers to actually step on board and give us some land.
Solid ending. Next up is Curtis Dixon, followed by Randy Williamson.
So diverse housing strategy is a big priority for me. This past summer, my family and I struggled trying to find affordable housing in the community. Forced to move, our house was sold. So, I mean, I realize I'm not a senior citizen, but I'm pretty darn close. So, I'm looking to the future and I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to do? How am I going to be able to afford that? So, we need to keep pressure on the governments, on the federal governments, on the provincial governments to keep funding different projects so that we can bring more diverse housing. We need to support our developers that are looking to, expand on their housing initiatives and add, garage apartments and so on and so forth. So it's a long strategy, but we need to look at how do we continue, and financing is going to be a big part of this.
Next up, Randy Williamson.
Affordable housing has been an issue that's been here for 20 years. And until I have an opportunity to get into council and take a look at the real numbers and find out exactly where we can develop an area for this, it's pretty hard for me to make a judgment call based on the fact that I've got nothing in front of me. So until I have an opportunity to review all of this, it's really hard for me to give you an answer right now. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Randy. Next up, Dale Harrison, please, followed by Brendan Kelly.
One of the aspects of new development is when new land comes on stream, 300 acres, 10% is owed to the municipality. So 30 acres is given to the community. That is a part of development. Now, what the community does with that 30 acres, that's up to the council. The other thing, the cost of land is the biggest portion of the thing. we're going to see smaller lot sizes or multifamily homes or, multi-units. That's the only way that you can bring the cost down per door on construction. It's got to be for bigger units. West Wind does a great job of that, but they can't provide all of the housing for each community in there.
Thanks, Dale. Next up, Brendan Kelly, followed by Cindy Holladay.
Thanks for your question, Mr. Pryor. I sit on the Westwinds board as an executive with Mayor Crane, and so High Country Lodge is one of my favorite places to stop. It was my first stop last year when I was running. I'm going to see them on Friday again to catch up with them. But one of the problems that we're seeing here, besides funding, because that comes largely from provincial and the federal government, is your steps to retire. So you retire, then you start to get a little bit older, you're still able to live in your home, and then you're forced to move somewhere. So in Westwinds, what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out that middle ground. How do we keep people in place so that they can age in the community that they've raised their family in, or perhaps that their kids live in or their grandkids live in? The application that Mayor Crane alluded to, the Glenmead Phase 3, the empty, it's about 3 acres. We want to support any type of affordable housing that comes in. Just down the street from here, I live right next to the affordable housing put on by Westwinds. That gives people the opportunity to move on and get their own place. We need to do more for our seniors, and we will be looking at that as we move forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Brendan. Cindy, you're next, followed by Jonathan. And candidates, you can feel free to just wave it off if you want, although I know telling a stage full of candidates to do that, there's no chance. So, Cindy, and then Jonathan. Thank you.
Yeah. So as a councillor, I don't really feel like we should be in the development business ourselves or in the house building business ourselves in that capacity. But I do feel that we can make a difference with the proper planning and policies in place. We did this in Herner Valley. We recently updated our land use bylaw, and we allowed different kind of multi-family housing development, cottage properties in, you could build a cottage property in your backyard that could be accessible for your parents. You could do something over a garage suite in your backyard for people, and that I think ticks off some of those boxes for different kinds of housing. And I think as a combined community, there should be more that we could be doing with our FCSS dollars, maybe to support families living, trying to stay in their own homes. So I think we'll be stronger together on that.
Thanks, Cindy. Next up is Jonathan Gordon, followed by Hazel Martin.
Great, thanks, Greg. Appreciate the question. As I mentioned in my intro, I moved back here to support my parents. They live with us in our home. They are aging in place, and it's an excellent opportunity. As Cindy mentioned in our land use bylaw amendment, we allow garden suites. They don't have to be atop of a garage. They can be a fully separate building in properties that allow it. We thought of this during COVID because there was such a huge concern about having parents coming out of senior care facilities with the numbers, unfortunately, where the highest death rates were impacted. So I fully support a middle housing strategy. You know, it's been since the 70s that the federal government mandated affordable housing in municipalities. We keep thinking inside the box, same thing over and over again, and we're still playing catch up. That's why we're so far behind. I think it's time we think outside the box. Make sure these garden suites are more applicable. Make sure they're more easier to be put in place. We can have comprehensive area dwelling places. We have that in our new land use bylaw in Turner Valley. So I do support a diverse housing strategy. I'm a little bit hesitant about the affordability aspect. That's a moving target, especially with inflation. So I think we need to be diverse. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Hazel, and then Barry Williamson.
Thank you very much. I had an interesting conversation with a lady in the audience. I said to her, she said, what are you campaigning on, Hazel? And I said, affordable housing. Time and time again, we hear of families that are needing housing. We are also seeing, we're hearing of seniors that are wanting to downsize, but they don't want to leave their community. And so, as in the conversation, it was, you know, like we could do this stay in your community model for seniors and have it affordable and they pay rental. And she said, but I don't want to pay rental. I want to purchase. And I want to purchase something small that is manageable. And just like Jonathan said, you know, is that we need to be able to think outside of the box, look at the housing that is going to be not only for seniors, but also for folks that are looking for something smaller to be manageable and affordable. Thank you.
Thank you, Hazel. Barry, and then Heather Thomson. Sorry, Barry Williamson, and then Heather Thomson.
Okay, thank you. That's a very small, simple question to answer, given that so many communities are dealing with this problem. And we dealt with it when I was back on council, and we're still dealing with it, but there are innovative things coming out. You've got to reach outside of your network to get some of those solutions that you can benchmark off of other municipalities. This concept of very small homes is out there. I think some of the problems you have is not everybody's on board with it. You get people with slightly larger homes and they think having these multiple smaller homes is going to devalue the property. And so you've always got that conflict to manage, but enough people can get behind seniors, I think, seniors that are looking for housing. And I think Jonathan Gordon's comment about having them come in your home is a great one, but not all seniors have that option. So we've got to find other options that are more practical and can be properly applied across the spectrum of senior citizens. So it's going to take a huge effort. It just can't be governments. The developers have to look at it. That's another time. Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. Next up is Heather, followed by Shay, and then Veronica.
Well, I don't think that there's much more that I can add to what everybody else has said, other than I am one of the baby boomers and I am one of the seniors that would like to see that kind of diverse housing coming. But I also see young families that need to have some housing and things like that. My dream would be to have an affordable garden community which would cater to smaller families, single people, or seniors, and that would be what my dream development would look like. But of course, towns aren't developers, so if we can do it in a thoughtful way, I think that we can accommodate single parents, small families starting out, and us seniors that want to downsize when we get there. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Heather. Shay, followed by Veronica.
Small houses. So I've been spending a lot of time on the internet lately, and I don't know how many of you people do that, but I've been looking at small houses. And there's some amazing small houses out there. But what I need is I need a map. Where can we put them that these people are going to be comfortable, where they're not going to lose out on any of the amenities, where they're not going to be so far out of town that it's going to be a tough time getting in on a snowy road at the end of the day. And I need the information to actually say that. 100%, I think small houses are the best thing going, especially for starter families, especially for older people. You know, I've got a mother that's in a home that's like 2,500 square feet. And we talked about moving in together, but we figured we both had too much stuff. So the thing is that we're looking at downsizing, and yeah, we've got to go into something smaller. It's more affordable. It gives you a much better option. Garden suites are great. I have too much to say.
I know, it's a minute though. Sorry, they're quick answer.
I'm totally on board with having an area of town, you know, or looking at different areas in town. I'm not on board with trying to use the 10% green belt as a housing, as low-income housing. For every 10
Sorry, Shay, we're over. Veronica, you're up next. Thank you.
So on council, you get to specialize a little bit, and I got to champion the cause of economic development and entrepreneurs. This issue of affordable housing crosses into that. I had an opportunity a year and a half ago to sit in on a forum for Westlands. It's not just seniors affordable housing, it's all affordable housing, and it's not just in our community, it's across the province and likely across Canada. So, we are going to have to take this to the province. We're going to have to go for our MLAs and say, we need your help. And it's probably coming. They probably know already.
Thanks, Veronica. So I'm going to move on to the next question now. I want to mention one question here from Ms. Joy Inman, who handed me the question. She was standing here in line. It is regarding the gas plant and promoting tourism within our communities. That said, there was two topics that showed up heavily in our emailed questions as well. And they were voted on highly by people as topics that they wanted to hear about. So for that, I'm going to hand the mic over to Gary, and Gary's going to ask the next question.
Hello, candidates. I'm Gary Ashmore from Turner Valley, and I'm happy to be part of this tonight. Due to my past and recent exposure to our municipal processes over the past years, I feel accountability and transparency are an issue. I'm often left with the feeling that there appears to be an effort to hide behind a wall of bureaucracy and a reluctance to share information. Obviously, accounting and transparency leads me to ask this question of the candidates. Can each of you explain what you believe definitions of these two very important concepts are, and what you would change to achieve that at Alaska?
Thanks, Gary. This was one that ranked highly in questions that were submitted as well. So I'm going to go to Barry Williamson first, followed by Brendan Kelly on this question.
What's the question? None of us, like the mic wasn't working or something.
Okay, the question, you can repeat it. The question was, what does accountability and transparency mean to you as a candidate? What do those words mean to you?
Well, I had a lot of time to prepare for that. That is a rich subject. And everybody has a different view about transparency. I don't think it's that difficult as a concept. I think the tendency of being difficult in terms of practice and a shared practice. Transparency really is, what are we doing, why are we doing it, and we want you to know what we're doing and why we're doing it. How do you get that out to you? And it's a two-way street, it's not a one-way street. That's how you get that information. Accountability is that once you make these decisions, you can stand behind the decisions you made, and you can share the decisions you made. And you stand up for why you did them rightly or wrongly, because you do make mistakes. So accountability should be communicated. Your communication plan is a critical piece to getting at both of those.
Thank you, Barry. Next up, Brendan, followed by Randy, please.
Can I use my box and get like the 10 minutes? No? Okay, I just get 60 seconds for both of these? No, I'm just kidding. These are really big questions.
It is empty, no extra time.
Thank you, Mr. Ashmore, for this. Okay, so simply put, accountability, like was just explained, is standing behind your word. So you talk the talk, you walk the walk. If someone asks me a question and I give them an answer, I don't turn around and give somebody else a different answer. I stand behind exactly what I said to person A, B, and C, and the message doesn't change. When it comes to transparency, again, why do we do the things that we're doing? How do we do the things? And in large part, how much money are we spending? And that's important to relay those messages to you. Since being elected, we've implemented the mayor's message, which comes out once a month in our the Diamond at the town office. I do 2 minimum updates a month on Facebook Live and try to keep everybody in the loop. I'm not changing what I'm saying. Everything that we talk about as a council is being brought back to the community. And where do we get those ideas? Where do we get that information from? We got it from our residents. We got it from you guys. So when you write emails, when you make phone calls, I respond to everything personally. And if I need a follow-up, I always follow up with my administration so I get the facts right the first time. I'm not going to tell you one thing and then, oh, nope, that's not actually true. I give you the facts. And I won't get back to you until I have the facts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brendan. Next up is Randy, followed by Barry.
Well, I can only talk about what accountability means to me. Is when you give your word, you keep your word. And you don't change it, period. So you're accountable for every move you make, every decision you make. If you're sitting on council for 8 years, you have to be accountable, which means you better have something to show for what you've been there. You can't be there and walk away and I ask you, what did you do in the 8 years you were on council? And you tell me, I don't know. Because it's a team thing, but you should know what the team's doing. Transparency means that every single thing that I explain to you, you should be able to see it in writing in order to understand what I'm doing. In other words, I'm not hiding anything. You're going to see what I'm doing and you're going to see how I'm going to do it. That's why I keep referring to the fact when I got the numbers, I'll have a better idea of what I'm talking about. But right now, you're going to get full disclosure from me. That's the one thing you're going to get. I'm honest and I am transparent. I'm very direct and straightforward. At least the people are going to know who I am. Thank you.
Good question. Accountability is exactly why we're here today. We get held to account through the election process, and that is, right now, the citizens have the power to choose and remove who they don't believe did the job that they were told they were going to do, and now's the time you get to make that choice. Transparency is just straight up tell the truth. So once we've made a decision, sometimes it takes a long time as a council, you have to tell the truth. We're not hiding anything. The gas plant, for example, we have no power over that. It's a provincial body. It's provincially owned. So we have no input whatsoever on what goes on there. We can ask and we can beg, but really, it's not ours. But transparency is owning everything we've done up to this point, including amalgamation votes, and answering those questions on the street.
Sorry, Barry, I jumped the gun. You got 10 more seconds if you want. I got you up there, that's good. Newbie's right if you get them up there too long. Next up is Hazel, followed by Curtis Dixon, please.
Accountability. Just got to kind of wrap up what everybody else is saying, that, you know, being an elected official means that we are accountable to you and how we spend your tax dollars, how we go and out and find the information that you're asking for. When I get an email or I get a phone call or I get somebody stopping me on the street, I will go and I will go to our administration, find out the answer, come back, and I try and do it within 24 hours so that nobody is thinking that I just flushed them off, because I don't believe in doing that. I've lived in this community for a lot of years, and I still want to be able to walk down the street and hold my head up high. I do not want to say anything falsely to anybody. Transparency is what we do in council.
I'm sorry.
And again, I will take that information and share it with whoever asks me.
Thank you, Hazel. Next up is going to be Curtis, followed by Veronica.
So I'm running my campaign on being accountable and being transparent, and I can tell you the solution to this is public engagement, folks. And I've been on council for a year now, and I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed by the lack of public engagement that we've seen. We've had many public sessions and invited people out, and we get one or two people that show up. You want us to be accountable up here, you want to ask me some questions, you want to know my feelings or where I stand on things, come out to the meetings, talk to us face to face. Or anybody can sit behind a keyboard and be a keyboard warrior. I am not a keyboard warrior. I'm standing up in front of you today and saying, let's get some public engagement. Thank you.
I think Curtis knocked it out of the park. I don't want to repeat what everyone said because I don't disagree with any of it, but being approachable. I think everyone up here is, and I encourage all of you to phone every one of us.
Veronica always used to tell me my sentences were too long. She's being very efficient with her answers. I appreciate that. Thank you, Veronica. Dale, you're up next, followed by Jonathan.
Accountability is responding to the citizens honestly. There are times when we can't do what you want. And being honest is saying that's the case. We don't have the resources, or we don't have the time. It's maybe not now, it may be later. We can't meet everybody's needs. As far as transparency, some of the issues that we deal with in municipalities is covered under FOIA. Used to be land, legal, and labor. And if some of that stuff comes up, we cannot share that information. Contracts working with developers, when it comes to contract negotiations, if something leaks out and a competitor comes in and takes advantage, the municipality can get sued. We are required to protect our workers, their rights to privacy, and so that's legislation that we have to follow.
Thank you, Dale. Jonathan, followed by Cindy, followed by Shay.
And we can almost hit the repeat button here. But when I look at accountability, the first two words I wrote down was to whom. As a councillor, I'm first and foremost accountable to each of you. It's always a performance review. At the end of the day, after a council meeting, discussions might be posted. I'm accountable for my conduct to each person who's a resident of Diamond Valley. The performance review, every 4 years basically, right? Or even now when we're having this election before we come forward. Transparency. For me, this is the why. We make a lot of decisions, but full transparency should be explaining the why. Why did we decide X, Y, and Z? So that I can explain to you fully why we made the decision. I love open and honest debate. In Turner Valley Council, I look at the councillors we've been privileged to serve with the last 5 years. One of the things that we always decided upon, if we disagree, let's do it agreeably. And we did. There were many times we had 4-3 votes. There was many times my motions were defeated. But once we understood the why, we were transparent with one another, and I think we can bring that into our role here. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Cindy, followed by Shay, and then Heather last but not least.
Really helpful if I could read my notes after I write them. But I do want to carry on with something Jonathan said in our council that I really appreciated and made a big part of how I act as a councillor, is to tell people why you're voting the way you're voting. When it's something that's really contentious, there's nothing, I think, more disrespectful to the residents than just sitting there quietly throughout a meeting and just putting up your hand, once in a while when you know somebody's voting, and not saying, what you think and why you're voting the way you are. So I think that to me is transparency, as well as making sure all the information is available if residents want to look for it. We always talk about things being 2 clicks away on our website. We started video recording as soon as we could right after the 2017 election, so that we can be held accountable if we say something stupid, because somebody could replay it on social media forever after. And we are accountable because we pay taxes. I pay high taxes, and we pay utilities. So when we make decisions, it doesn't just affect you guys; it affects us too as taxpayers. And so we know your concerns. So those are.
Thanks, Cindy. Now we've got Shay and then Heather.
All right, being accountable for our actions, standing behind what you say, making promises that you actually keep, right? And if you go on to that little blurb that I have out there on myself, I'm committed to work towards ensuring ongoing inclusive communication within the community. And that's the transparency, right? Engaging our community and being accessible to you. Therefore, you can hold me accountable. And the last one on there is establishing a good rapport and continuing respect for our community. Again, it comes back to transparency, respect, responsibility, integrity.
Thank you, Shay, appreciate it. Heather, last but not least, and then we've got a question.
I just say ditto. Are we done? All of the above. We must be accountable for our decisions, and we're accountable to our ratepayers who vote us in. And that's what part of this process is about. Transparency, of course, we have to try and do that and do it the best we can. Every council meeting is open to the public. Most committee meetings are open to the public. And again, I agree, it's a two-way street. If you want to know, then come to a council meeting, come to a committee meeting, get the information. Most of the information is on the website. Most of the amalgamation information on the website. For you to make a good decision, maybe hop on websites and go to a council meeting and take a look and see what people are doing. So, thank you.
Thank you, Heather. So next question I'm going to go to is, it's a collection of questions that were submitted by email. So I'm going to boil down about 4 questions into something that you all get 60 seconds to answer. So the questions included things like from Jason Martin, how much, if any, tax savings should residents expect to see with the amalgamation? Are there any other cost-saving ideas for residents being discussed? Things like, currently, the utility rates are different in both towns. The water rate in Black Diamond is higher than in Turner Valley. Will the water rates be going down in Black Diamond or up in Turner Valley so the communities match each other? And more along the lines of taxes, Maureen Nelson asked, as usual, many residents want lower taxes. What would you change and how so that taxes do not increase? What is most important and least important? And so I think all of these touch on costs, which are something that was forefront in people's opinions when it comes to what they thought were important issues. So I wanted to make sure I touched on it. That's broad, but I'll let you take it where you want to take it. So first up is going to be Heather Thomson. I'm sorry. Or is that better that you get to go first and not just say ditto?
I don't think that with the cost of living and everything, tax rates, we can't predict those. We can try to manage them the best way that we can. Service levels will have to be looked at to make sure that utilities, et cetera, are aligned. There's differences in both communities with the utility rates, that's agreed. We've been looking at the utility bylaw, but of course we can't do that's a big one because we want some public engagement done on that one. So there's many things that are going to be coming forward to this new council to be looking at, and hopefully we'll find those efficiencies. But I don't know that taxes going down is going to be one of them.
Thank you, Heather. Brendan, you're up next, followed by Hazel.
Okay, so this is one of those things, because there's so many big topics here, I'd welcome you to pick up one of the pamphlets on your way out and email me, call me, and we can have a bigger talk about this. But when we talk about tax savings, part of amalgamation is, quite honestly, we're eliminating one council. We're eliminating one mayor. That's big savings right there. We look at these people here that I've had the pleasure, some of them to work with, others who are running right now. We signed up for this because we knew as taxpayers ourselves, we would be saving money long term. Are we gonna see the benefits next year? I don't know. Are we gonna see them in 2 years from now? I can't give you that answer. 5 to 10 years from now, yes, we will be looking at savings. We've got utility rates review has got to come up. Just quickly to point, Black Diamond already pays a lot in water rates. So Turner Valley residents, the likelihood of yours going up is probable. And that's just the reality of where we stand today. The organizational structure that's being implemented and put in place, we hired an HR team to take care of that for us. And we're going to be seeing a lot of savings coming down that as well. But we need to get through amalgamation to realize the savings because they're long-term savings. They're not short-term savings. Thank you.
Next up is Hazel, followed by Curtis.
So some of you folks will know my son Jason. He likes to do his little surveys on Facebook. So, okay. So what I kind of figured out, the total amalgamation cost savings would be about $573,000. That's what we hope to see in the first year. And that includes the reduction of one council, one CAO, the RCMP, and some provincial funding to cover the transitional costs. We will be looking at a full service review, and that's going to be your water, sewer, road, staffing, and contracted services. We don't know what the hard numbers will be in savings until the reports are completed. And just as Mayor Kelly has talked about, is the utility bylaw. That's going to be a big one of where we're going to all be paying the same amount. And just a little fact. Until most recently, people that with dog licenses in Black Diamond paid more than they did in Turner Valley. So the full review is going to really get us down to finding out where our efficiencies are.
Thank you, Hazel. Next up, Curtis, followed by Veronica.
So, listen folks, I have experience with amalgamations, and I can tell you that long term, we are going to see some significant savings. We're going to see some significant reduction in our costs and so on and so forth. The first year, the first 2 years are going to be very difficult. We're going to have some decisions that are going to have to be made. But we have to look at everything. We have to look at everything across the board. What can we do without? What can we give up if we're going to lower our taxes or our cost burdens are going to go down? These are questions that we need, again, public engagement, folks. We need folks to come out and tell us what's important to you. What's important to me is not really the issue here right now. I'm not standing up here to tell you what's important to me. I'm standing up here waiting for you to tell me what's important to you. So that's where we need to go.
Thanks, Curtis. Veronica, you're up next. Followed by Cindy.
So what we don't often talk about with amalgamation savings, because it's almost impossible to catalog, is the duplication of work and the hours of staff time in both communities that will be better used without doubling up on topics, as they are now. So they're all most are salaried, so we cannot divvy up those hours, but I can assure you there will be a massive savings in hours.
Thank you, Veronica. Cindy, next.
Yeah, I think we have to appreciate the fact that the people that we're relying on to get this amalgamation across the board is the staff. And so it would be very unfair for us to be saying, oh, well, we can do without so-and-so in such and such category. So through the amalgamation report, we focus solely on the savings of the council and the CAO. And that's until we complete our org charts, which hasn't happened yet, we aren't going to know for sure on a lot of things. So they're just best guesses. We do know that towns our size do spend less on their budgets. Utility rates, I think it's also too early to say that they're complex engineered documents, and we have different rates of water leakage between the two towns, and we have different rates of what we're putting away into reserves for our asset management plans. So until we update those asset management plans and have the utility rate reviews done, it's too early to say. A lot of people talk about property taxes, and it frustrates me so much because I want you to focus on your home equity as well. If you live in a town that's run down, that the pipes are leaking and things aren't going so well, you are going to lose out on your property value when you go to sell. So saving a little bit on your property taxes every year might look good until the long term. So we need to focus on both, increasing the value for our homes as well as keeping a reasonable and affordable tax rate.
Thank you, Cindy. Up next, Barry Williamson, followed by Dale.
Yeah, not easy to answer in a very short period of time. I jotted down a bunch of things because it's a whole mix of things that you need to look at. If it's utility rates, you can blend the formula that both towns are using to get them on the same page. You can also come up with stabilization rates. You can put together a reserve for utility such that you stabilize that when things go up and have a reserve to help you out on that. It's difficult to comment on what you can do with taxes when you can't control inflation. It's just going to eat away at your costs. It's going to eat away at what you can do as a town. The tax itself can have a stabilization reserve to help you out when real estate rates start going up. Real estate rates, by the way, and real estate values don't quite compare with the way your home's assessed. Your home is assessed by an assessor for the town. It's not the same assessment that you've got real estate agents, and often you're getting more when you sell your home than what it was assessed at by the town. And I would also say that, you know, trying to control rates, the wholesale rate's actually set by the utility company, which we have influence on, but it's an arm's length utility. But other than that, you can look at best practices and try to find ways of doing things better in your community.
Thank you, Barry. Next up, Dale, followed by Jonathan, please.
The primary source of revenue for most municipalities is taxes and utilities. 80% of the infrastructure in Canada is in the hands of the municipalities, but we do not have access to that kind of tax revenue. We need to be, as municipalities, we need to be lobbying the provincial governments for a larger portion of the tax revenue that all of you pay in provincial taxes to come back to the municipalities so that we can feed the infrastructure and repair the infrastructure. 10 years ago, the big talk was about the infrastructure deficit. Nobody knew how big it was. Well, we now know it's huge. And it will never be paid for based upon taxes, not local, not municipal taxes. The other thing is we have to come up with creative ways of generating new revenue. Village of Longview, we just recently created a net zero solar project. We got a 40% grant to cover part of it. We put $145,000 of taxpayers' money in. This year, 1 year, we will have generated $45,000 in revenue. We will have that $148,000 paid off in 4 years. Then we have $45,000 that's unrestricted for the municipality to do with whatever they want to. We need to be creative.
Thank you, Dale. Jonathan and then Randy, please.
Right on. Thanks, Jason Martin, and those of you, Maureen Nelson, I think was mentioned as well, over the last week and a bit, putting some online questions together. So important. Taxes are always forefront, are they not? Every year we have our budget cycle, we go through our operating, our capital budgets, and really the bottom line is what revenue do we have, and that's our property taxes. As far as tax reductions, tax savings, I think the first place is to really complete a proper asset management plan and everything filtering from that. When it comes to our utility rate review, I'm a huge fan of cost recovery with an asset management put in place. When we talk about asset management, we use terms such as amortization, and I kind of struck myself and said, what on earth are we talking about with amortization? And then I realized really we're talking about replacement cost over time. And so we have to know all of these elements and put them into place so that when we have our utility rate review, when we do it as an amalgamated community, we're looking at it effectively. What asset do we have in place with our water treatment, our assets underground in need of repair? If so, we've got to invest in that infrastructure, but it needs to be full cost recovery with those stabilization funds so that we have effective management of what's in our hand. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Randy, followed by Barry, and then Shay. You got two last in a row. That wasn't in a row, but two last. Sorry.
It's alive. It's really hard to sit here and listen about tax increases. We've been hearing about tax increases for 21 years, and now we're faced with higher taxes again. So we're going to have to review every dollar we're spending, and we need to know why we're spending it. Now you're talking about accountability. That's going to make everybody accountable. If I become the mayor, that's exactly what I'm going to be looking at. I want to find ways of cutting taxes, not increasing them. I want to find ways of cutting our spending, not increasing it. And all of these things are going to be looked at, and they're going to be looked at really closely. That's the last thing I think anybody wanted to hear right now, is we're going to be paying more taxes. We're looking at affordable houses for seniors. I'd like to know how they're gonna pay these taxes, never mind finding them affordable housing. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Randy. Barry, and then Shay.
Service level review, obviously, as you've heard from everyone else, is imperative to really find out where our money is going to go. To counter Mayor Brendan's point, we have a system right now, as we have through Shruk, water goes to both towns. We can maintain that, rates will stay the same. The short term, Martin's question. Yeah, we're looking at, well, basically, it's all about becoming more efficient and standardization of delivery of our services. So, snow clearing in Turner Valley, for example, is exceptional in my opinion. I look forward to bringing that to Turner Valley, or to Black Diamond. So under Diamond Valley, we have some really efficient snow clearing. That's not going to be reducing, that's going to be worth the money in my opinion. At this time, for Maureen's question, I would not remove one service to reduce taxes at all. I would maintain the taxes where they are and do what we're trying to do, and that's maintain the efficiency level and create new streamlined services that keep us balanced in the long term, because that's the whole goal.
Thank you, Barry. Shay.
Okay, my understanding is the amalgamation thing that we went through was supposed to help stabilize taxes in the long term. And obviously there's discrepancies as far as who's paying what and all the rest of it, but those are all going to have to be looked at and considered from every point of view and a balance found. And that can only be done with the new council. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Shay. I'm going to go to, we're already over time, to be perfectly honest. So I'm going to go to one final question. I'm going to ask everybody for lightning round responses. One question that I had from folks was related to promoting our communities as a destination. Now, Ms. Hinman phrased that in terms of the gas plant, but there's a lot of different directions that you can take that. In 30 seconds, what do you think are the biggest assets of this community, and how do you promote them to people who don't live there? I'm going to start with City Holladay.
Our greatest assets are the mountains to the west of us and the small businesses that make their community unique.
That was lightning, thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. That was lightning. I'm going to go to Jonathan Gordon next.
All right.
Shay, you're
Location, 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 and award-winning small businesses.
Thank you, Jonathan. Shay, you're up next. Yeah.
All right, hiking trails, gas plants, mountains. There's so much going on here, and we've got such an amazing community as far as creativity is concerned. It's just, it's boundless. It really is endless. Art, we're having artists coming out here on painting, and all the hiking trails often through the library. I think that's where we need to go. It's already a destination at the end of Cowboy Trail, and all we need to do is really blow that up and make it worthwhile to bring in those extra dollars that we need to make our community grow.
Thank you, Shay. Up next, Barry, followed by Dale. Please, Barry Williamson, sorry. Followed by Dale. I forgot I have to specify.
I was going to say the cultural facilities that we've built over the last couple of years are attractive, the library being one of them. Home affordability, everybody may not agree with that. If you look at buying a home in Calgary versus buying a home out here, it becomes attractive. And we're getting a lot of people coming from BC and Ontario for good reason. And there's a number of other things about this community and its location in the mountains that makes it really good. That's my quick.
Thank you, Barry. Dale next, followed by Curtis, please.
One of the things I've noticed in this area is the amount of weekend traffic we get coming out of Calgary, and people just touring the country. My wife and I, we just go for a drive. We go crazy. And what you need to do is create things that will get people to stop in your community. The longer you can get them to stay, the money falls out of their pockets. And so it's creating things that are interesting, arts, galleries, food, unique events. It's just tourism.
Just watch for those dollars falling out of pockets, right? Curtis, you're next. Randy Williamson after.
Our natural environment, obviously, the history of both our beautiful towns here. There's a ton of history here, and our small businesses, our diverse small businesses, are huge attractors. Do we have to do more to attract people? You know what? The word's already out there, folks. People are coming. I had a business here in town. Every weekend we were packed, so people know about us. Can we do more? Of course we can. Do we have to? Well, how many people do we want? Thank you.
Thanks, Curtis. Randy Williamson, followed by Hazel.
Yeah, definitely tourism. I mean, when I was on the Chamber of Commerce, the first thing I did was build the center in town, visitor center. We kept track of everybody coming in, and people were coming from all over the world. We were shocked. We had no idea. We thought they were just from Calgary. Anyways, Cananassus, up in Blue Rock, Sandy McNabb. People go up there and see that. They're constantly coming back. Worst thing the government did was put a trailer park up there. Anyways, I'm in the backcountry every day, and I have so much here to see. All we got to do is promote it properly, and I think things will really go well. Thank you.
Thanks, Randy. Hazel, followed by Barry, please.
So what do I think of our community? We've seen so many people come into our community on the weekends with COVID and everything. And of course, this location. What better place could we be than here in Diamond Valley? Our beautiful outdoor pool that brings a lot of folks in for the experience. Our gas plant to show our heritage, our events. We bring lots of folks in for our events, and that's just a taste of what our community has to offer. Let alone our small businesses. And you know what? We have great ambassadors in our community.
Thanks, Hazel. 30 seconds is killer, so like that.
The library and all it has to offer. World-class distilleries, our brewery, Hard Knocks Brewery, MODERATOR, Westwood, Black Diamond Hotel, the hospital, the vet clinics, the new vet clinic, Tim Hortons. Our pathway system, our volunteers, our rich history at the gas plant, our internationally recognized Amber Marshall Country Store, the Sandy McNabb campgrounds, our amazing Black Diamond campground, and all the excellent coffee between, i.e. Black Sheep Coffee is one of my faves now. Esso's even great.
Barry Quinn coming in hot. Thank you, Barry. Brendan, you're up next.
That's good. You took everything right from me. Holy, that was great, Barry. Ditto to that for sure. But, okay, in all seriousness, Eau Claire, who just partnered with the Edmonton Oilers and the Calgary Flames, AG Foods, Mark and his family have done a great job there. Far, Hard Knocks, Black Sheep Coffee, the motorcycle shop in Turner Valley, Rona, camping, tourism. Highway 40 is a top 10 drive in Canada, and it's less than 15 minutes away from here. But what is the factor that links all these things together? It's the people of this community. You are the people that drive people to come here, and once they meet you, they come back. Or they want to stay, but that's it.
Thank you, Brendan. Veronica followed by Heather, I believe.
Too bad you saved this to the end, because this is where I work. So I work with Foothills Tourism Association, many other people in this room have helped build that thing. Travel Alberta has just taken federal dollars and is creating tourism zones across the province. They are coming here on Wednesday to do a little meet and greet with some select shareholders in the area. They want to take money from Banff and Jasper and drive it to all the other tourism regions of the province because Banff is overrun with tourists. We'll get some. So yes, I'm going to put a post on my website. If you're really interested, you can read about it later this week.
Thanks, Veronica. Heather, you're up next. Feels like you're doing a lot of last turn, Heather.
I can honestly say ditto to all of that this time. Go sit down. It's a beautiful community to live in. It's a beautiful community to drive through. We have so many unique shops, arts, culture. It's just a wonderful place to be.
Who did I miss on that question? Everybody went? I lost track. It all went so fast that I got everyone. So, in lieu of closing comments, we just said we wanted to ask as many questions as we could. So, with that, we're going to wrap up the evening. They're probably already trying to kick us out of the school. So, if folks are able to make their way out, I know that it's always great to mill around afterwards and talk to candidates after these. Unfortunately, we do have to leave the school so that they can get this cleaned up. If you do want to meet with the candidates, make sure that you reach out to them. All of their contact information is on material up front. So please grab pamphlets before you go. Thank you all very much. All of you are what makes this happen. Have a good night, everyone.